United States. Public transport.
Public transport.
In a jam.
In a jam.
Angelenos are happy to pay for public transport, but loath to use it.
Angelenos are happy to pay for public transport, but loath to use it.
The Expo Line, a light railway which connects the city of Santa Monica.
The Expo Line, a lightweight lane, a light railway which connected to Santa Monica, which connected the city of Santa Monica
to downtown Los Angeles, is a marvel.
To downtown Los Angeles is a marvel.
For decades, Angelenos traveling to and from the beach.
For decades, the Angelenos traveling to and from the beach
had to sit in traffic on Interstate 10.
Had to sit in traffic on Interstate 10.
Since 2012, when the line opened, repurposing a long-closed Pacific Electric rail line.
Since 2012, when the line opened, repurposing a long-closed Pacific Electric rail line,
they've been able to catch a sleek train instead.
They have been able to catch a sleek train instead.
On board, Josh, clutching a smart yellow bicycle, says that thanks to the line, he has managed.
On board, Josh, clutching a smart yellow bicycle, says that thanks to the line,
to avoid buying a car since moving back to the city from New York 3 years ago.
He has managed to avoiding buying a car since moving back to the city from New York from New York 3 years ago.
Instead, he commutes by bike and train to his tech firm office each day.
Instead, he commutes by bike and train to his tech firm each day. Tech office each day.
Such stories delight urbanists who want to make LA lively. Such stories delight urbanists.
Such story delights urbanists
who want to make LA less dependent on the car.
Who want to make less dependent to who want to make LA less dependent to the car.
The city is trying hard to throw off its reputation as an automotive city.
City is trying hard to throw off its reputation as an automotive city.
In 2016, 71% of voters in Los Angeles County approved Measure M.
In 2016, 71% of voters in Los Angeles County approved Measure M,
a ballot initiative which imposed a sales tax to fund public transport.
A ballot initiative which imposed a sales tax to fund public transport.
That and older taxes mean for every dollar they spend,
that and older tax mean every dollar they spend.
People in the Los Angeles urban area now contribute 2 cents to public transport.
People in Los Angeles urban area contribute 2 cents to public transport.
Several new rail lines are planned.
Several new rail lines are planned.
Last year, the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti,
Last year, the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti,
announced that he wants to reduce the number of car trips there by half over the next 30 years.
Announced that he wants to use the number of the car traveling there by half over the next 30 years. over the next 30 years.
Yet much more common than people like Josh are people like Debbie, a 22-year-old pharmacy worker.
Yeah, it's more common than people like Josh, people like Debbie, 20-year-old pharmacy worker.
Standing waiting for a bus in El Monte, a city in the east of the sprawl,
Standing waiting for a bus in Monte, the city in east of Sproul.
she looks sniffily around at her surroundings.
She looks sniffly around at her surroundings.
Today her car has broken down, otherwise she would be in it.
Today, her car has been broken down, otherwise, she would be in it.
Driving is just so much easier, she says.
Driving is so much easier, she said. She says.
Even as its budget has expanded, the number of people actually using public transport in LA has collapsed.
As budget has expanded, even as its budget has expanded, the number of people actually using public transportation in LA has collapsed.
Total ridership is down almost a quarter since 2013.
Our total ridership is down almost a quarter since 2013.
3 in 4 Angelenos travel to work on their own in a car, the highest figure ever.
3 in 4 Angelenos travel to work their own in a car, the highest figure ever.
Half a century ago, Rayna Banham, a British architectural critic, mocked urban planners who wanted to force LA to re-adopt public transport.
Half a century ago, Rayna Banham, the British architecture critic, mocked urban planners who want to force LA to re-adopt public transport.
It will not be easy to persuade Angelenos
It will not be easy to persuade Angelenos
to climb into whatever coloured rolling stock the new Dream system offers, he wrote.
to climb into wherever colored rolling stocks the new Dream system offers, she wrote.
Some fear he may be proved right.
Some fear he may be proved right.
It seems to be easier to persuade Angelenos to pay for public transport than to get them to use it.
It seems to be easier to pay. Angelenos
to pay for public right. It seems to be easier to persuade Angelenos.
It seems to be easier to persuade Angelenos
to pay for public transport than to get them to use it.
To pay for public transport than to get them to use it.
According to Michael Manville, a professor at UCLA's Institute of Transportation Studies.
According to Michael Manville, a professor at UCLA's Institute of Transportation Studies.
The driving factor behind the decline is that public transport in LA is mostly a safety net for the poor, not a service for most people.
The driving factor behind the decline is the public transport in LA is mostly safety net for poor, not service for most people.
In a typical year, the average person in Southern California takes 36 bus or train trips.
In a typical year, average person in California takes 76 bus and trains train trips,
but most people take none at all.
but most people take none at all, not at all.
And in recent years, as subprime credit has proliferated,
And recent years, as subprime credit has proliferated
and wages have risen, poor people in the city have acquired cars.
and wage has risen, poor people in the city has acquired cars.
The proportion of households without access to a car
The proportions of households without access to car
fell from 10% in 2000
fell from 10% in 2000
to 7% in 2015.
to 7% in 2015.
Among immigrants, the fall was even sharper, from 14% to 8%.
Among immigrants, it was even sharper, from 14% to 8%.
For a while, the opening of new rail lines balanced out falling use of buses, but no longer.
For a while, opening of new rail lines balanced out a falling use of buses, but no longer.
According to Mr. Manville, providing public transport options is not enough to persuade people to get out of their cars.
According to Mr. Member, providing public transportation option is not enough to persuade people to get out of their cars.
Trains and buses must be almost as fast and convenient as driving.
Train and buses must be almost as fast and convenient as driving.
In sprawling Los Angeles, with its extensive freeway system, even the almost permanent traffic jams
In sprawling Los Angeles, with its extensive freeway system, even though almost permanent traffic jams
do not slow people down to the speed of buses.
do not slow people down the speed of buses.
With over 100 square miles of parking,
With over 10 square miles of parking,
over 4 Manhattans,
over 4 Manhattans,
there is usually somewhere to leave the car.
there is usually somewhere to leave the car.
What can be done to turn things round?
What can be done to turn things round?
Jessica Meany, who runs a charity which lobbies for transport for poorer people,
Jessica Meany, who runs charity which lobbies for transport for poor people,
says that the city's planners have often been too romantic.
says that the city's planners have often been too romantic,
Prioritizing grand new rail lines
prioritizing grand new rail lines
and trying to attract freewheeling yuppies.
and trying to attract freewheeling yuppies.
Meanwhile, the needs of poorer people, who mostly use buses,
Meanwhile, the needs of poor people, who mostly use buses,
have been neglected.
have been neglected.
She notes several simple things that need improvement. Pavements around bus routes should be little simple things that need improvement.
She knows several simple things that need improvement.
Pavements around bus routes should be less dangerous, so people do not feel scared of walking to the stop.
Pavement around bus route should be less dangerous, so people do not feel scared of walking to stop.
Rail stations need toilets and baby changing stations.
Rail station need toilet and baby changing stations
So that people with children or without are not caught short.
So people with children or without are not caught
Police officers
are caught short.
patrolling lines could be less aggressive towards young men.
The police officers patrolling lines should be less aggressive toward young men.
Modest changes are already underway.
Modest changes already underway.
Last month, the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority
The Los Angeles County Transportation Authority,
which manages most public transport in the LA urban area,
which manages most traffic transportation in LA urban area,
announced that it will update its bus routes, which have been mostly unchanged for 30 years.
which announced that will update bus routes that have been unchanged for 30 years.
Joshua Shank, the agency's chief innovation officer, explains how a study of people's travelling habits found that buses were particularly better. Joshua Shank, the agency's chief innovation officer,
Joshua Shang, the agency of chief innovative officers,
explains how a study of people's travelling habits
explain how a study of people's traveling habits
found that buses were particularly bad for short journeys out of normal commuting hours.
found that the buses were particularly bad for short journeys out of normal commuting hours.
Taking a child to a doctor, for example,
Taking a child to a doctor, for example,
make those easier, and some two-car families might drop one.
make those easier, and some two-car families might drop one.
Yet such tweaks will probably not be enough to lessen LA's legendary traffic jams.
Yes, such tweaks probably not enough to lessen LA's legendary traffic jams.
And as traffic worsens, it creates a downward spiral as buses slow down even more and people switch to cars.
And traffic worsens, it creates a downward spiral. A bus slow down more and people switch to cars.
Eventually need some, and people switch to cars. Mr. Shank says the city will eventually need some sort of congestion pricing.
Mr. Shang says the city will eventually need some of congestion pricing, some sort of congestion pricing.
The roads will never accommodate the demand as long as the price is zero, he says.
The roads will never be accommodate the demand as long as the price is zero, he says.
A pilot is already being planned.
A pilot is already being planned.
That will be controversial, however.
Even
removing a single lane of traffic to create a dedicated bus lane can cause a storm of anger.
Even removing a single lane of traffic to create bus even removing a single lane of traffic to create a dedicated bus lane can cause a storm of anger.
For other American cities, or at least those which look a little like LA,
For other American cities, or at least most which looks like LA,
all this ought to be worrying. Among the fastest growing parts of America are Sunbelt cities such as Houston, Atlanta, and Phoenix.
Among the fastest growing